Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in March. And this is going to be a little bit of a different way than I did it in the past because I did set a special challenge for myself in March. I did the M.A.R.U songs picks my reads. If you're interested in seeing my thought process for picking those books for each song, then you should go watch that video before watching this, but you can go ahead and watch this one without seeing the other one because I am going to go back into the songs that I picked and if I think they were a good match for the songs. I have to be very frank, I had my first DNF of 2025 in March. I unhauled 5 books in March. I had a lot of misses in March. I ended up not even reading my full TBR because of how bad the month was going. I am going to be talking about Sunrise on the Reaping, but rest assured, I'm not going to give spoilers for that book. I'm going to give slight spoilers for every other book because I have to talk about what was a good fit with the song and all that. I'm going to go ahead and get into my facts and my stats, and I am just really excited to walk you through how my month went because do you guys remember if you did watch my M.A.R.U songs picks my videos, I specifically said, oh, I don't want to cry the whole month. And guess what, guys? I think at least 6 of these books made me sob my eyes out. I think at least 5 or 6 I sobbed. So I would say almost half of my reads I literally viciously cried to. So I jinxed myself. I was trying to avoid this and still somehow I totally set myself up for a very emotional month. Okay, so for the stats for this month, I read 14 books. I read about 5,000 pages and my average rating was a 4.32. I feel like my average rating is getting lower and lower every month. I technically have 3 favorite books of the month and I cannot pick between them and you cannot make me pick between them. I did pick between them on my spreadsheet because I have a best book bracket and I had to pick one to go there, but generally speaking, these 3 books just felt all on the same level of just wrecking me, and I'm gonna go over why as I get to each book. My favorite 3 books of the month was A Sunrise on the Weeping, A Wilderness of Stars, and A Gray Miss Fair. So those are my stats. So as for my 25 and 2025, I read I think 2. I think Sunrise on the Reaping was one of them and Go Luck Yourself was another one. I plan to catch up on my 25 and 25 in April because I think at least 5 of those books are listed that I can read in April because they're all coming out release dates wise. So those are my stats and my top books. I'm going to go ahead and get into my reviews now. The first book that I read was called The Queen Underneath, and it is unfortunately my first DNF of 2025. I'm going to give a whole spill about why I DNF'd it, but this song was picked to go with Fine because the main character is a thief that becomes queen. And to me, the song Fine is about proving yourself, not letting someone say that you can't survive. So I was like, oh, this girl's had a really rough childhood and she's gonna go prove herself to be great and she's gonna be awesome. I think I made it 70, 80 pages. And I simply could not continue this book because it made me deeply uncomfortable as a grown adult to be reading this. I have 2 things that I did not like about this book, but the very big one is that it felt too sexual for a YA book. Main female character is 18 and the male main character is 17. That's a very normal YA age range. My problem with this book is my age. I have to be 26 years old. I felt uncomfortable reading this because of my age. I think maybe if someone was 16, 17, 18, maybe they wouldn't have been so bothered by some of this, but I was, because I have read a lot of YA because I think YA books are so good. Sometimes they have really important narratives and sometimes they're just better than adult fantasy. A lot of my favorite fantasy books are YA books. So I read a lot of YA and this is the first time I've ever read a YA book that felt like fetishizing and sexualizing the characters. The main female character is very sex positive. She's very open about having sex and she even says she's very experienced and she loves it and she has all these side people that she has sex with and people come to her for sex. I am all about being sex positive. My issue is how she talked about the main male character who is 17 she made a lot of comments about how he's so innocent and he's so inexperienced. He is a virgin, and how she was attracted to him because of him being a virgin. And I really tried to keep reading, but in like the third or fourth chapter, they have fake sex because she's being like followed, and she's like, let's just have an orgy so they don't come in because they'll be too embarrassed to come in. And I have to pick what I say very wisely because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. So I'm gonna try to walk around these words very carefully. They start jumping up on the bed, making noises, acting like they're doing the real thing, and she makes multiple comments about how this 17-year-old who is a virgin just can't help himself around her, and he can't control his attraction, and she makes comments about him being turned on. The author was like sexualizing and fetishizing this 17-year-old male. And I just think that in YA books, if you're gonna write sexual things, that it should be done in a way that is appropriate. Another thing that I had a problem with was like the language that she was using. So for her to like have this plot that's like no electricity, very like old-timey scenarios, but then like use like our modern slang, it like ripped me out of the story. So it was just like, it was like 80% like the sexual nature of the book, and then like 20% the fact that the slang was bothering me. But I then felt justified in my rating because I went on a story graph and it had an average of a 2.4. So like I don't think really anyone has liked this book. Next I read A Wilderness of Stars, and this is the book that I picked to go with You're Gonna Go For, and this book fits so well. It fits so well. I did a banging job making the connections without realizing how many connections I made. So I was saying You're Gonna Go Forward is a song about obviously like just going forward, like you have a lot of hopes and dreams and you're gonna accomplish a lot. And this is literally, this book wrecked me. This book literally wrecked me. So where do I begin? This book is about someone called the Last Astronomer. This is a group of girls, and the title gets passed down woman to woman in the family. So like you're not the last astronomer until your mom has died. And so like this girl is, you know, she's the last one, and all these astronomers and her, like for years, they've all been looking for this astrological sign to happen. They've been waiting for this something in the sky to happen so they would know to essentially go away from their homes, and they have to go in search of the architect because the architect is the only one that can guide them to where they're supposed to go when this astrological event could happen. And I know this sounds really confusing, but it's just hard to say what I want to say without spoilers. But this book, so this girl has never really been outside of her town before until she finally, like, her lifetime is the lifetime where they saw the star, this astrological sign. So she literally is going to explore the world for the first time in her life. Her mom just died. Like, that's why she has the title. Like, her mom has to die before she gets the title. So you see this girl who's essentially like the key to everything. It's like, without spoilers, but it's just like kind of like a book about, it's a very sci-fi book about kind of like the world ending in a way, but also like how our ancestors come here and have hopes and dreams for us, and how they start to get muddled and lost throughout time, and how we might not be the only ones living here. And I know you're like, how does this all connect? I'm like, you'll have to just read the book to figure it out, because it's so good. But it also ties in this like religion bit, because she's the last astronomer, and this group of people is called the Heretics, and they're hunting her because they don't want her to do whatever she's supposed to be. Whatever she's supposed to do, they don't want her to accomplish it because they don't think it's like what God wants. So then it brings in this whole element of like religion, and it just felt like this book really just made me sob. And the worst part of this book to me is that the ending is open. Like, it doesn't have like a true actual ending. It's one of those books where you're kind of just left to imagine what you want. Like, there is like a final bit, obviously, but then Like, there's no, like, oh, epilogue, like 5 years in the future. Like, it's none of that. Like, it's just like, it like leaves you with like hope on what might happen next, but what might happen next is entirely up to you. So this book just absolutely destroyed me because of just life. Honestly, it reminded me of humanity a lot. And actually, my other 2 favorite books of the month also reminded me of humanity. So those books just destroy me. So this is the second book that I read. Next, I read A Song of Six Realms, which I absolutely loved. Another book that I literally sobbed at. What's the odds that I would cry back to back, honestly? This book was picked for the Northern Attitude. I said that Northern Attitude is a song about, like, wanting to love and be loved, but you're worried about, like, where you grew up might hinder your ability to love and be loved. So I related it to this book because it was about a girl who's an orphan, who's never really, like, left her town, and she's falling in love with someone, but she's, like, worried about being in love with this person and them loving her back. And it actually ended up fitting the song so well because that's literally it. Like, she doesn't really know how, oh my goodness, I'm like throwing books around. She doesn't really know how to, like, be in love because she was an orphan. This is a book with, like, musical stuff to it as well. So she, if you're ever someone that, like, reads about, like, Chinese literature, Chinese fantasy, this is one of them. She can, like, play this musical instrument that, like, brings stories to life. And she is sent to play for this king. Like, she's gonna play for him, and she ends up falling in love with him, obviously, because it is a romance. And she just, I mean, just the way she acts, like, she has no idea of, like, how to be royalty, like, what she's supposed to be doing, and she just feels like her childhood and the way she was raised is holding her back. But of course, you know, everything works out. This book won't have a second book either. What the heck is it with me reading these books that are absolutely destroying me just to find out there will not be a second book? I'm like, where is the rest? Where is the truly happy ending? It's all just supposed to be imagination and you're supposed to just hope for the best. I don't read books to think. I read books for you to hold my hand and literally walk me through it, okay? That is what I read. But this book has to do with, like, dreaming and falling in love and butterflies, and just all of it got me, and it was so beautiful. I love it. I know I'm not giving good descriptions, but it's so, I feel like these books are so hard to explain what they're about because spoilers, and I don't want to give a lot of spoilers, especially for this book, because I do have a friend that's reading this book in April, so I want her to be able to read it and enjoy it and not know. If you're someone that doesn't mind open endings, you'll be fine, but I like my hand to be held, and I want to be walked through the rest of their lives. Like, I want to know that they're happy and in love and grow old together. And if you don't give me that, then I'm a little upset that I have to think for myself. So this is the next book that I read. And then I read Now That I Found You, and it was for the song Orange Juice. I do not have it in my hands because I unfortunately also unhauled it. And it's not because it was a bad book. What did I even give this? Like a 3.75? I unhauled it because I did not think that I would ever read it again. I don't typically reread contemporary romances, so it just felt like one of those books that was like one or and done. I have a friend who I think might really like it, so I'm gonna unhaul it to her, or just someone that might want to read it, because it was a good book. Like, I didn't hate it, and it was entertaining, but I just don't want it on my shelf, is what I would say. So this book, I can actually give a good description of this one. So I picked this book for Orange Juice because Orange Juice to me is about how you have changed as a person and you just feel like someone in your life hasn't changed, even though the whole world around them has changed, and you're just angry with them for not changing. And I related it to this book because the main female's character, she feels like she's changing, but her grandma, who she looks up to, who she is compared to a lot, like, her grandma isn't changing. Her grandma has, you know, not really went outside her house in like 10 years. A famous actor, and then she, like, something happened and now she doesn't come out of her house, so like everyone's still comparing it to her, but her grandma is like not changing, even though the whole world is changing with her. And I would say this book, after I finished this book, I would say this book does kind of fit orange juice, but not really, because you actually do find out something about the grandma that makes me lean towards not fitting, because the grandma did change more than that main character realized, but she didn't realize because she was self-absorbed. I'm sorry to say that. She was very worried about herself, and she was like, oh, I'm growing and I'm changing so much, but then in reality, she wasn't really paying attention to the people in her life to realize, you know, that someone was changing. So I would say it kind of works, because even though her grandma did change more than she realized, I feel like it kind of also fits for the main character, because the main character kind of was the one that wasn't actually changing. Like, she was the one that was just, like, blinders on, only worried about herself. Like, it's just... So this song was, like, I would say, like, 60% fits, 40% doesn't fit with the book. Okay, I did take a break from the Noah Kahn Song Challenge to read my new releases, so I'll go ahead and talk about those before we dive back into the songs that I picked books for. So I read the Rag Picker King, which came out, which was the second book to the Sword Catcher. That's what it's called. I really enjoyed the first book because I thought it had like, it was like dual POV, and I thought it was very interesting. I thought it was very fascinating. I thought it had angst, and it was very like, it had a slow burn, which I don't usually enjoy slow burns, but the slow burn in this book was actually well done. And I was just really excited for the second book, and the second book kind of fell flat for me. I just wanted more, and the funny thing is, this is the book that I rated while eating my mac and cheese, and Pizza Cat dared me to rate my mac and cheese and my book the same way, so I did. So if you go on Storygraph, my review for this book, no sense at all, because I'm like, not as creamy as I wanted it to be. What does that even mean, May? What do you mean that a book wasn't as creamy as you wanted it to be? Like, that obviously makes sense for mac and cheese, because it wasn't a creamy mac and cheese. But why did I put that? The second part does make sense, because I said I was wanting more from the mac and cheese and the book, and I took so long to get to the point where I enjoyed the mac and cheese and the book. But I still don't know why I called it. What did the book, what did I mean by creamy when I wrote this review about the book? Like, that's the part that makes no sense to me. But yes, it felt very slow. I wasn't as into it as I was the first book, and it was so long, and I ended up not even buying the second book because I was like, let me read it and see if I like it first, and then I'll buy it. I didn't buy it. I gave it 4 stars. I definitely don't hate it. I'll definitely continue the series, but I didn't love it enough to put it on my shelf. So it was just, it took so long for me to enjoy. Like, the last, 100 pages, edge of my seat, obsessed. But, like, the first, it was like a 500-page book, so it was pretty long. Like, the first 400 pages, I just was like, what am I doing here? So, it was just a bit of a mess. But the second new release that I had, Go Luck Yourself, that was phenomenal. It was so, so good. I loved it. It was everything that I was wanting and more. Because I date a ginger, and the main character, obviously, is a ginger, because it's, like, St. Patrick's Day, and he's Irish. My boyfriend's not Irish, but I have an attraction to people that are gingers. So, it's like, this book was calling to me. It is about a Christmas prince who gets into a prank wars type deal with the St. Patty's Day prince, and they have to, like, pretend, like, makeup, and then they go, the Christmas prince goes to stay with St. Patty's Day prince during St. Patrick's Day, and then they fall in love, because of course they do, and it's just so freaking hot. It's so good. Like, I can't even blame him, because if I saw a sexy ginger man on the streets, I would want to be with him too. All I'm saying. It was so good. It was the perfect book to read for St. Patrick's Day. It was fun. It was entertaining. It had very minimal smut, but the smut was good. It was funny. The characters were hot. Did I already say that? It was gay. Did I say that? It is about 2 men. 2 men kissing. I love 2 men that kiss in books. It was good. I assume there'll be more on the series, but I'm not for sure. But I will definitely be reading. I will be set. So I don't know if my already existing attraction to gingers is why I gave this book 5 stars, or if it was just that good anyways, but that is where we landed with it. It has been about 2 weeks since I read Sunrise on the Reaping, and I've been thinking about how I want to talk about this book. And I think instead of giving it like a normal review, I think I want to talk about how this book made me feel and about how it connects to real life things happening, because I think it's really important that we talk about those things in spaces even like this, because books are political. You don't have to agree with me, but that's how I believe. I believe books are political, and I think this book is very telling of what's going on around the world, especially in Palestine. This book is tragic. I sobbed through most of it, but the whole time I was reading it, I just kept thinking about how this is happening to real life people. You know, I've always been a really big fan of dystopian books, but there comes a point in the world that we're living in when dystopian books are not even like dystopian. They're just like tellings of things that are literally happening to us. I mean, we might not have this arena of games, but people are being taken from their homes all the time. People are being, you know, controlled. They're being killed. They're having their loved ones killed. They're being bombed. It's just so tragic how, you know, we read these dystopian books because we think they're never going to happen to us, and now we're living in a time of this very much happening to people. And it might not be happening to Americans per se, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening. Like, Palestinians need our help. First of all, I just want to say that even in, like, before the book even starts, Suzanne Collins talked about AI. She talked about the government controlling people, or how we, like, trust a few to rule the many. And that's before the book even begins. And I just want to applaud putting that into books, because you don't really see that very often. And I feel like Suzanne is using her writing as a way to talk about political things in spaces that don't always get talked about. She put in the copyright page that her work was to not be used by AI, to train AI. I haven't seen anyone else ever do that before. I could be wrong, but this is just the first time I've seen an author do that. And she included poems and writings that talk about the state of government. And I was already, like, just reading those before the book even started. I was like, oh my goodness, like, this is saying so much. And there is a part in the book where it talks about being neutral, and how being neutral is not a good thing, because you're actually just making life harder, because you're just letting things happen around you, and you're just choosing to sit there. But when the reality is, you might be neutral because those things aren't happening to you, but one day those things might happen to you. Those things could easily start happening to you. So Suzanne tackles the whole concept of being neutral in these circumstances of things happening to specific groups of people. Like, it is a 5-star book, but I can't, like, go in and dissect this book, because to me, I cannot separate politics from books. I can't. So to me, in a book that's political, this book is political in my opinion. So for me to talk about a book that's political, I have to bring up the things happening in this world. So I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry for bringing this up. I just hope that if you read this book, you can just take whatever feelings you have about it and put it towards activism for someone that really needs our help. Okay, so the next book that I read was Together We Rot. This was the book for The View Between Villages. I picked this book because The View Between Villages, I said, was like kind of like being stuck between two places and feeling like you're being like torn apart, trying to fit in, but you don't really fit in anywhere anyways. But I thought this book would be good because I thought that this main character like ran away from home and was like somewhere that, and then he had to come back home, and it is kind of like that, but it's not in the sense that I thought it was. I thought that he had ran away from home because he didn't like his family, and then he went somewhere for like safety reasons, and then like something bad happened to his family and he had to come home. No, this book is about a boy being in a cult. So whatever thoughts I had about this book, I was so wrong. This book is about a guy being in a cult, And the other character is about a girl whose mom's been missing, and they are friends, and I don't know how much I can say without spoilers, but he does run away because his family is a cult, so he runs away to try to get away from the cult. But then he does have to come back for a certain reason at the end, but I literally cannot say much. But she does help him try to escape his family, but then he does have an obligation to come back at the very end, and it was really sad, but also not sad, and I did pretty much enjoy it. So I will say this fit the song like 80%, because it does have to deal with like being torn between like what you grew up with knowing and like figuring out new information, that sense of like uneasiness towards like your childhood, and just he was torn between like his family and the life he was trying to create with his friends. He was torn between that. So it does have that essence to it, but it was not in the way I was expecting it at all. So it was a very good book. But like an 80% correlation between it and the song actually ended up being what it was. And then I read A Veil of Blood and Magic. This song was False Confidence, which I said false confidence because it's a song about just like kind of faking it until you're making it, pretending that you're like more than what you actually are. And I said that it went well with this because I thought the main character was like pretending to be someone that they weren't to get revenge, and it does have that. But this is a female character, and I had no idea before I read the book. I thought it was a man. I was literally so wrong. But it is about a girl whose entire family is killed, and she wants to get revenge, but she's also dying from a heart condition. So she acts a lot stronger than what she is because she doesn't want to give up on getting revenge. Like, she doesn't want to die until she gets her revenge. So it does have that essence of like false confidence because she's telling herself that she can live another day and she won't die until she gets what she wants. But the reality was that she could have died at any point because her heart was literally giving out, and it was just pure luck that she actually survived. So it does have that essence. It's good. It's good. I think I gave it like a 4.25 maybe. I really like this author. It's not my favorite thing by this author, but it was a nice quick read. I would read the second book because it does end on a cliffhanger, and the cliffhanger did kind of take me by surprise. But I also did kind of guess a few things. But this is I don't know what order the words go in, but it's like a female with two men. Okay, so then I did a 30-hour readathon with a friend, and I read 3 books in that time period. One of them was The Grey Misfare, which is my third favorite book of the month. This song correlated with harrowing. I think when I finished this book, I had said that I was wrong because it ended up not being anything like I thought it was. I thought this was a scary book. I thought this was like almost like a horror book, like people were dying, like it was supposed to be like a bad guy, scary guy. This is a book about embracing death and like overcoming our grief, and how we spend so much of our life being afraid of death, and if we were just embrace the fact that death is inevitable, we could almost befriend death and we could walk alongside it and not be scared, and when it was our time to die, we could just have a peaceful transition. And I literally sobbed. Like, this is not what I thought it was going to be at all. Like, literally shook me to my core. It is about this place that has a mist around it, and you can only get there if you're really thinking about it, and if you are scared, these, like, creatures come and, like, eat you, and only leave, like, your clothing. Like, everything about you is consumed except for your clothing. And you have, like, if you're not scared, like, if you're confident and you're not scared, then they don't come after you. And, y'all, this is the first book that I read for the readathon, and I was literally shooketh. And then I read Mark of the Wicked, which I did not enjoy as much as The Grey Misfare, but I said it was about bad luck because, like, it was a book about just feeling like your luck isn't there, like the world's against you, and how you're trying to be good but bad things keep happening to you. And I said that I thought the book would be like that because it was like a girl is a witch and she wants to be a good witch, but these bad things keep happening to her that makes her look bad, and she keeps getting blamed for things, and like the proof is there that she's bad, but she swears she's not doing it. And it was kind of like a mystery, and I don't own it right now because I unhauled it because I gave it like a 3.75 and I just didn't want it on my shelves. And it did have a big twist about, you know, who was really involved with what and who was really good and who wasn't. I will say that it does fit the song. Like, she did have horrible luck. Like, anything bad that could have happened was happening to this character. So the song fit. I just did not enjoy the book as much as I would like. I read With Love from Cold World. I selected it with We're All Gonna Die because it is a song about like wanting to fulfill your life. I thought it was going to be a book about having like almost like a bucket list of things that you wanted to do and accomplish, and you wanted to like, this character was like scared to fall in love, but she's like, I might as well just fall in love because life is short. I thought it was going to be like that, so I thought it was going to match the song. It did not match the song at all, and two, I hated this book. I hated this book. This book was nothing to do about a bucket list. It was nothing to do about being scared of falling in love and then falling in love. It had nothing that I thought was going to have. It was about this girl who worked at a snow globe, and like a snow globe place that like had ice skating, but it was in Florida, and she worked there, and she found out that it was going to get closed down, so they needed ideas on how to save the business. And what got me was that she had a huge crush on her manager, and she had liked him for like 5 years, and he had never given her the time of day. And then when this all started happening and they needed ideas, he was like, if you can help save the business, I'll take you out on a date. And she fell for it. And he told her that he was gonna take her out, and then he stood her up. Like, he didn't even show up for their date. And she was still like, oh, it's totally fine, he's still dreamy. I was like, get a backbone, please. And then right after her like getting stood up, she's with someone else. Like, it was like she had moved on so fast. And for someone that was supposed to be in love with this guy for like 5 years, I felt like she had moved on so fast, and it felt so unrealistic. So it wasn't only just a fail for the song challenge, it was also just a fail in general, because I think it gave us like a 2.5. It was bad. I unhauled it. That's why it's not in my hands. And then I read Kit McBride Gets a Wife, which I gave like a 3.5. I also unhauled it. I picked this song for Hurt Somebody because I picked it because I thought it was going to be like a betrayal. I thought like the main character was like deceiving the other main character, which I did have a little bit about that, but it was about this cowboy who has a sister who wants him to get married because she's tired of doing his housework, and she's like, if he gets married, then he'll have a woman to take care of him. So she puts a fake mail-in order for a wife. He has no idea. And she gets a wife to come, but the wife is also not who she says she was. She was someone else. So it did have that deceiving thing to it. And obviously it was a contemporary romance, so they did fall in love. It was cute. It was like, I don't think I'll continue the series though. I just think it'll be a one and done book for me. So that was that. And then I think I have 2 more books. And then I read Forestborn, which I had picked Youngblood, which I kind of said was kind of like almost like a love letter to yourself, of being like, you're young, you can get through things, and like facing something that's hard for you, which this book did have, because this little girl, she's like 17, 18. She grew up somewhere that was really traumatizing for her. It was a really hard time. And she works for the king now as like a spy, and the king sends her back to where she grew up, and she has to like relive that trauma. But she is also a forestborn, so she has like, she can like shapeshift. So they have, the shapeshifters have like 3 animals they can turn into, but then they can turn into any human that they want. So she can like replicate anyone that she sees, and then she has her 3 animal forms. And I thought that was really cool, because typically when you read about shapeshifters, they can just shapeshift to anyone. There's no limit to it. So I did think it was fascinating that there was some kind of limit to her shapeshifting. Like, she couldn't just shapeshift whenever. Like, she couldn't stay shapeshifted forever. Like, I think it was only a couple of days. So I just thought it was such an intriguing way to talk about shapeshifting. And she does have a brother, and there's a whole, like, plot about, like, people being kidnapped and people getting sick and trying to figure out why they're getting sick. And, like, there's magic in the land, and I think it was a nice twist to the magic in the land. The last book I read was called The Lost Dreamer, and this was so freaking good. The only thing is this book it was supposed to have a sequel. It has never been released. This book came out in 2022. The sequel was supposed to come out in 2023, and it never did. The author just didn't drop it, and I tried looking on Reddit, Instagram, TikTok, anywhere for information, and there was nothing about when a second book will actually be out. And that's tragic because it does kind of end on a cliffhanger, and it's such a shame because I thought it was so good. So it is about these people called the Dreamers, who essentially go to sleep and they can commune with spirits to learn, like, information about, like, what might happen to them or what might happen to people in their village. So, like, they could be like, oh, like, will so-and-so get pregnant? And they'll be able to tell them, or be able to tell them how to get people pregnant. Or, like, they could be like, oh, is it going to rain tomorrow? And the spirits will tell them, and they have those powers, and they can only do it while they're sleeping, or they have to do, like, a very particular way to dream, and they have a whole temple for it. But it's a dual POV, and the other POV is someone who is not at the temple that can dream. And there's a whole, like, thing about, like, oh god, the huge reveal had me shooketh. I did not even see it coming. I really didn't. I thought, I had guessed a few things, but the huge big reveal, it blindsided me, honestly. But it's a really good book, and it is based off of ancient Mesoamerica. So it has, like, that cultural representation that's really important in books. And I'd honestly really recommend this one. And I believe that is all that I read in March. It was a long month, honestly. But for a emoji to comment like a star or something. Because my favorite book was A Weirdness of Stars. Just comment like a star or something. Something astrological, a sun, a moon, a star, something like that. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I think if I ever do the music challenge again, I think I might change the way that I did it, because it was fun to pick out books, but then some of them didn't actually work out being for that song. But I overall had a pretty good month. This is the most physical books that I've read in quite some time. Thank you so much for watching anyways. I'm in a yapping mood apparently. This is what I read. You can let me know what your favorite book of the month was. You can let me know if you've read any of these books that I talked about and how you thought about them, or if you have any of these on your TBR, and if I had convinced you to read any of these. I just want to talk about books with people. Please talk about books with me. But I do want to show off my shirt because it is so cute. It is Winnie the Pooh, and it has, like, little crochet flowers, and it's, like, my favorite shirt that I own, and it's very springish, and spring just started, like, 2 weeks ago, so I'm trying to get in the mood. But I hope you guys have a fantastic week. I will see you guys next Sunday. Bye bye.